Good morning, this is Kim, and I just wanted to share a little bit of encouragement today. And this encouragement is going to be specifically for those that are parents, that are seeking to be parents someday, and even those that have a lot of dealing with children. This is just a simple encouragement, something that God has really been stirring up in my heart recently as I am raising my son, who is now 10 years old. This is a saying, and more importantly, a scripture that a lot of us know. It's Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6, and it says, to train up a child in the way he should go, even when he is old, he will not depart from it. And I know that for myself, as of recently, I have actually, over the past couple of years that my son has been in school, I've had a lot of issues with different behaviors in school, and I've tried a lot of different things. I can't even remotely tell you how many different strategies and how many different just routes that I've tried to take as far as trying to manage those different behaviors and trying to get him to make better decisions in school. But I was thinking about this scripture recently, and I was talking to actually his science teacher, who is a woman of faith, and she encouraged me to go into my concordance and look up different words in the concordance. And personally, I was very, very encouraged whenever I did this, and so I'm just going to share this with you guys today. This is going to be part one of this little bit of encouragement when it comes to parenting our children in today's society and today's age. So the first word I want to start with is the word train, which is obviously also the first part of that scripture. If you look at the word train in the concordance, it's going to be in the Hebrew because it was in the Old Testament. The Hebrew word for train is kanak, and that means to narrow, to initiate, or discipline, dedicate, train up. And so whenever I went and I looked up the word initiate in the English dictionary, that word means to a process, to cause a process or action to begin, to introduce someone to a particular activity or skill. So here's my first bit of encouragement when it comes to parenting today. Realizing that we're in a process when it comes to raising our children. And of course, this process doesn't kind of just happen overnight. It's something that is going to take us many different strategies, many different awakenings of having to wake up and try to find another way. There is a process that we are in, and this process is very specific. This process is very important. And if we do it the right way, then it goes to the end of the verse where it says that even when he is old, he will not depart from it. So the process is making sure that, there was a lot of different things that I was focused on behaviorally with my son. And then it hit me one day that my son didn't know how to fight for himself spiritually. Even at 10 years old, he didn't know how to pray for himself. He didn't know how to try to stop himself in those bad and negative routes that he was going, to try to say, okay, let me refocus, let me reveal, remove, replace, and choose that I'm going to do now the God side of this instead of what my flesh wants me to do. So the first side of this, like I said, is out of the Hebrew kanak, which is to initiate or discipline, meaning to cause that process to begin. So whenever we're raising our children, we need to cause that process to begin, that our children are learning how to fight for themselves spiritually, because this is something that it's not an overnight thing. It's not something that they can just get if they're not being taught how to do this thing. We need to learn that our children are going to need to be able to be grown up and need to be matured in the area of learning how to fight for themselves spiritually, because this is a spiritual battle. We're not fighting against the teachers. We're not fighting against the school districts. We're not fighting against the other students in the class. We are fighting against a spiritual warfare, and that now it's really scary because now our kids are going into school. Our kids have so many more spiritual influences and so many more distractions than we even had back in the day. And this is something that is really tripping up some of our kids, to the point that some of our kids can't manage, they can't do well, and the focus of the world is, oh, this kid is so bad, they have all these behaviors. And no, it's not. Our kids are being bombarded spiritually, and they don't know how to fight. So this is going to be my encouragement today is, like I said, the first part of that scripture was to train. So remember that in the Hebrew, it's kanak, which means to initiate or to cause that process to begin, to begin to introduce them to that particular way, which is God's way of being able to fight for themselves spiritually. And then the ending of that is, even when he is old, he will not depart from it. So then I looked up the word depart in the concordance as well, and that also comes out of the Hebrew portion of the Bible, and that word is excuse me, sor in the Hebrew. And some of the things that came up out of that particular scripture are to decline, to rebel, to remove, or be without. So when they are older, they will not decline it, they will not rebel from it, they will not remove it, they will not be without it. If we are allowing ourselves now, because sometimes there are those people that don't necessarily get to an understanding of God until they're later in life, and that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with them. It doesn't make them any less stronger. But if we're able to, when they're children, train them up to initiate that process, when they get older, then they won't be without it. Then they won't be able to remove it. They won't be able to rebel against it. It'll be that foundation that they have in order to fight spiritually. So that's my part one of today. And I hope that this is allowing you all to just really rethink the way that we go about our parenting strategies and the way that we deal with our different behaviors with our children in school. So come back next week and I will continue part 2 of Proverbs 22 verse 6. Train up a child in the way that they should go. Even when they are old, they will not depart from it. Be blessed. Be encouraged.